So if you let your camera do all the important decisions about settings, you may not be happy with the results. Now these two pictures are shot on the exact same camera and with the exact same lighting. The only difference is the settings. Today I'm going to teach you how you can get the best out of your camera by learning about these three important settings: ISO, shutter speed and aperture. Hi, my name is Eric and you are watching Channelbuilders. All of these settings affect each other, so you need to know what to do when you change them. We will start with ISO. ISO is the camera's light sensitivity. The higher you adjust the ISO, the lighter the picture will be. So if you are in a low light situation, can you just crank up the ISO as high as it can go and get a great picture? Not exactly. My example picture from earlier was with a high and a low ISO setting. To get the best picture quality, you need to always set the ISO as low as you can. The higher the ISO, the noisier and grainier your picture will be. Remember to pay attention to the exposure meter on a camera when adjusting the ISO. In most cases, this should read 0. If you are in the positive area, you are overexposing and that will make everything really bright. If you are on the negative area, you are underexposing and everything will look dark. Because of the noise the high ISO introduces, you need to get light into your camera by other means if you are in a low light situation. That brings us to the next adjustment, the shutter speed. In the old days of photography, the shutter was a mechanical hatch that opened and closed to let in light in the camera on the film. And the longer it was open, the brighter the picture was. In the modern camera, the digital one, there is no longer a mechanical hatch, but the principle is the same. The shutter there is how long the sensor is accepting light. When that comes to photography, it makes it easier, but when it comes to filming, there are rules. When you're filming, there are rules for what the shutter speed should be, as it affects the motion blur. If the shutter speed is too low, you will get a choppy, strange film. Producers sometimes use this to make a drunken or poisoned effect. The rule is that the shutter speed should be double the frame rate. A normal frame rate is 24 frames per second. If you're planning on doing a slow motion effect, you need to shoot on a higher frame rate. I will cover this in more details in a later video. For now, let's use 1/50 for 24 frame settings. That will give you a professional film look. The aperture on modern cameras is basically the same as it was in the old cameras. That is an opening in the lens that decides how much light is let into the picture sensor. Now if you are in a low light situation, you can open up the aperture and let in more light. This has, however, also an effect on your film. The aperture also controls something called depth of field. A high aperture gives you a shallow depth of field. That can be a great effect if you want to separate yourself from the background. If you want to film landscape or details, you should use a low aperture. Just to be confusing, the lower the f number, the higher the aperture. Most mobile phones cannot really control the aperture, so they often introduce the effect by digitally adding blur on the film or picture. So as you can see, by learning about these settings, you can get the best film quality out of your camera. You can also play around with these settings and get some cool effects out of your films. But however, these settings can also in some situations make problems for you. So let us say you are out filming in a bright and sunny day. You want a shallow depth of field on your footage, but the camera is letting in too much light and the footage is overexposed. Your ISO is as low as it can go, so what do? If you mess with the shutter speed, you will introduce a natural motion blur, so you don't want that. The solution is an ND filter. That is like a sunglass for your camera. If you have an ND filter to your camera, you are set for most situations. So there you go, there is a lot you can do to have great control with your camera and make high quality videos. That will set you in a better range than all the millions of poorly shot, bad edited videos that are on YouTube. So let's say that you have made some videos and uploaded it to your channel. What now? How do you make your channel grow? Check out this video next for some great tips. Thank you for watching. I will be seeing you on the next video.